again, friends. Welcome, new subscribers. I'm Brian from Apex Detail. Today we're going to take a look at the MTM Hydro SG28 trigger handle. We'll also compare it to their more economical counterpart, the Incur and also the Duchenne. We're going to crack them open. You know, I enjoy to see what makes them tick as much as I enjoy using them. We're going to put everything together. They're both snub-nose units. And then we'll also install the 1.1 Orifice and keep one a low pressure system, and we'll keep one a high pressure system. We'll compare them. We'll go out into the shop. We'll compare both units and how they work. So without further hesitation, let's get started. On the left, we have the MTM Hydro SG28. It'll give you the max pressure, gallon per minute, and max temperature for operation. This one here on the right will tell you not to point it at yourself and cause bodily harm. This is the cheaper, more economical Chinese version. Difference in size, difference in weight, and difference in material. The MTM SG28 will stay part of a high-pressure system, connecting that with an MTM foam lance, and we're going to keep the 1.25 orifice in there. That'll be connected to a gas-powered pressure washer, 3,100 pounds. The Incur weighing in at 3/4 of a pound, and the MTM will weigh in just under a full pound. And when we crack them open, you're going to see the difference in material, the difference in the size and the diameter of the body, and also the feed tube. The Incur has panhead Phillips sheet metal screws holding it together, and the MTM has panhead hex self-tapping screws holding it together. The MTM is $31.99. I also purchased the Fournet Quick Disconnect female coupler for $8 and the Fournet Quick Connect male plug for $6.50. You can also get the swivel head to connect on the end of your hose as well. The plastic handle itself isn't any type of special resin. It's just plastic reinforced by ribs in the middle here, giving the structure a little bit more strength. Stainless steel and brass will make up the innards of both units, both the tubes leading to and from the brass body. However, you will see a size difference between the two, giving the MTM has 4,060 psi, 12 gallons per minute, and 320 degree max temp operating. The MTM, Italian-made, has shockproof reinforced plastic ribbing throughout the entire body. A little information on the Incur. You can actually get the whole kit for $28, including the trigger, handle, and also foam lance and container. That is 4,061 psi and 28 gallons per minute. The name of the unit is spelled INNKER, and it has a distant cousin which can handle a little bit less pressure. That's the Dusichin, D-U-S-I-C-H-I-N. Both available on Amazon. Here you can see quite a difference between the brass bodies and the stainless steel tubing. On the Incur, the stainless steel tubing that feeds the brass body from the hose is 10 millimeters. On the MTM, you're looking at 13, and that's a difference between a high pressure unit and a low pressure unit. And another obvious difference, the SG28 brass body has a few millimeters on its smaller counterpart. Okay, so the threads at the bottom of the unit, that's where the swivel connect, quick disconnect for the hose will go. And on the nose of the unit here, we're going to put the female quick disconnect end, and that has an O-ring, so no need for master sealant tape. When working with brass threads, just tighten with your hands first and then snug it down a little bit with some adjustable wrenches. No need for force and 100 pounds per square inches here. Okay, so we put the male in for the quick disconnect down here. We're going to grab the master sealant tape, and when you're wrapping the threads with that, you want to go against the threads. So when you're threading the coupler into the trigger, the thread sealant tape doesn't get bunched up and shredded. This is a bit of overkill here, but just 2 trips around the threads would do. Make sure the entry isn't clogged, and it's time to thread it into the trigger or handle itself. Again, go as far as you can by hand, and then grab 2 adjustables or 2 exact fitting wrenches, and just make it snug. Don't crank it down. Okay, so I already have my female quick disconnect coupler attached to the hose, which is heavy duty, braided, and it's ready to go. And this acts like a swivel on its own. Just keep it lubricated. No need for a swivel adapter or connector. Okay, before we head out into the shop, it's time to connect the female coupler for the foam lance itself, the MTM foam lance. Again, we're going to use the master sealant, 2 trips around the threads, going against the threads, hand tighten it first, and then no need to crank it down once again, just nice and snug. For those of you that have done this numerous times on your own units, I really appreciate you hanging in through the video. I really wanted to get this information out, especially for my customers. When they take their car back after major correction, paint protection, and they start to care for their own vehicles, I give them links and recommendations for tools and methods such as this right here to do some care of their own in between taking the vehicle back and bringing it back for some regular maintenance. So all we have to do is connect the foam lance and we're ready to go with the high pressure system itself. Everything swivels, just keep those connectors well lubricated and you'll be fine. Okay, so when it comes to the lances, the 2 I have, this is the torque, this is the low pressure, this is the one we're going to be replacing the Orifice. This has a 1.25. We're going to replace it with a 1.10. The Orifice in the MTM, we're going to keep that the 1.25 as that is the high pressure system, as I mentioned before. Both bodies, brass. We've taken a look at the inside of the MTM. All you really have to look for is the screen, the filter, and 2 O-rings. They both are about a pound, so when you combine the lance and the trigger itself, and a little bit of the weight of the hose, you're looking at about 2.5 pounds. Not much at all until you fill up the container with your wash solution. As you can see here, the orifice is located right behind the male quick disconnect. Take that out. It's always going to be a flathead screwdriver. They're not in there very tight. It's not going to take a lot of torque to remove it, and this is what it looks like when you take it out and compared to the little 1.10. Once again, we're talking about brass threads, so make sure you start it and thread it correctly before tightening it down. Once you strip it, that brass body is going to be useless. Some master sealer tape on the threads of the male connector for the quick disconnect. Reattach that, and we're good to go. The brass body here is a torque body, same company that makes the polishers. Everything is ready to go and head out into the bays where we test drive both of these units. Up first is the torque lance hooked up to an in-curve trigger. That is in itself hooked up to a 25-foot hose that's attached to a 2000 psi electric pressure washer. And now that we have the orifice swapped out, the foam for a pre-wash is right where you want it to be. Not just for pretty looks and to make a nice video, the purpose it serves is to start the breakdown, lift, encapsulate, and lubricate some of the grit that's lying on top of your car and get rid of it before a contact wash. If you're indoors, out of the elements, you can keep the foam, the pre-wash, on the vehicle for about 10 to 12 minutes. Let it do its job and then give it a thorough rinse. If you're out in the sunlight, out in the weather, you're lucky if you can get 3 to 5 minutes in before it starts to dry. A lot of the pH neutral soaps, even if it does start to dry on the panel, no worries, just wet it, reactivate it, and then you can rinse again. Now we can get to the high pressure system, a 3000 psi gas powered pressure washer, 50-foot of braided hose, quick disconnect each end, quick disconnect on the trigger and the foam lance itself. And the high pressure unit, again, great for RVs, anything that is real hard to reach where you don't want to be up on the ladder. Great for pre-wash for absolutely anything. If you work indoors, you may want to stick to the electric pressure washer. If you're outdoors, this thing is awesome. Okay, so as you can see, a huge difference with pressure. I like the high pressure units for trailers and RVs and larger units. You could just stand there, point it, and it has enough pressure to reach the top of whatever unit you're working on. I like the low pressure unit for inside the shop. I don't have to run the gas engine pressure washer, keep the doors closed, keep the air conditioner running, and still have good foam for a pre-wash. And then when it comes to a rinse, again, the high pressure system will reach far. It doesn't matter if you have the snub nose or the wand, and the electric pressure washer has its low pressure system. And they both work fine. You also saw the orifice exchange was quick, was easy. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Brian from Apex Detail. Catch you in the next video.